You're going to have to bear with me because I'm an engineer, not a designer. So there we go. That's my great design. Let's pretend that I've made a kiosk app that is wildly successful, and I sell it to many people. Basically, it's a canned or skinnable application that I want to sell to many clients so I can get as much money out of it as I can. So this is very simple. You know, someone walks up to a office building to check in. They enter their name in. They pick who they want to visit. We'll visit Jeffrey Lebowski. And then they submit that. And then on the other side of that desk is, you know, the security guard. And he sees my entry coming at the top, prints my badge, and then when I'm done visiting, he logs me out. Super simple. 3 layouts, all connected to one theme. Okay? So now I get a call from another potential client, and they say, we really want this because it's awesome. I'm going to pay you lots of money for it. How fast can you get it done? Tell them 15 minutes. You're laughing, but we're going to do it. So let's go into layout mode, and let's start with kiosk. And the reason why, this is very much a Martha Stewart kind of pre-baked thing. I did all of the planning and hard work ahead of time to be able to even build this solution. Before I ever went into FileMaker, I sat down and I thought about what are the elements that I need for all the layouts, and I made an inventory of those things. And that was the basis for this. And now you'll see exactly how powerful that is. And the nice part about that inventory is this styles tab here. You'll notice as you click around, so this is also a new element to 13, this new tab in the inspector. But as you click around, it tells you, what the available styles are for each of the objects that you have on your layout. Sorry. But if you show all, it shows you all the styles. And this is an inventory right here. So I can hand this off to somebody else, a designer, say, who knows nothing about the mechanics of my solution, doesn't know how it behaves and how it's put together, but knows that I have these elements for these object types. They can go in a kitchen sink solution and build up all these styles for me and hand me a theme. I can import it and apply it, and it just goes on working. Again, that person doesn't need to know anything about how I put the solution together. They just need to know I have a header part, a list view body, a dialog header, and so you can just snapshot that and hand it off. So we'll remember that because we're going to come back to that. First things first, let's change the penguin. So my client's giving me some resources. I'm going to go ahead and just change that background. Then I'm going to be very diligent throughout this whole process about saving my changes to the style and then eventually to the theme. So here we're going to go ahead and save changes to the current style. We've modified the default layout background. So now all the other layouts that are using this theme will show this background. And then we're going to go through and essentially modify all this stuff to look appropriate. We'll go ahead and choose some better colors for the header. Again, not a designer, so don't judge me. And then I get to make the text right. Contrast, I do know that. They talk a lot about contrast, so you want to make sure you have that right. One of the things that's kind of interesting to think about is the logoing. So again, I want this thing to be completely skinnable so I can just swap out all that stuff on the fly. Well, you may be familiar with insert picture. And what that does, that puts a picture on the layout, but that's not a themable picture. That is in no way tied to the theme. So if you want to be able to change your themes and have other layouts pick up, for instance, a logo, what you want to do is use a square or a rectangle and turn the borders off and use an image fill, and then create a custom style attached to that. And that custom style will then track every time you change the theme. As long as there's a logo style, it'll just change and be picked up. So that's a really kind of handy tip there. And so we're going to go ahead and change the logo. Again, I have another graphic resource. Oh, it's kind of ugly. It's a little clipped, right? Well, I have a couple options. I could resize stuff, but that's not my goal. I'm not going to resize anything this entire time. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose another way of making sure that I can see the whole thing, and just use the little scale to fit. Again, saving those changes. We will go on, run through the dialogue really quickly here. My client wants a very dark background for the dialogue to match all that stuff, so I'll do that. Again, all the time, saving changes to the theme. This dialogue is actually totally apropos of nothing with themes, but this is a slide control with no dots, one panel, and hide and show calc on it for the hide object. And that's kind of a handy little trick. I've seen a couple of you guys do it, but if you want to have a dialogue style behavior, it's kind of a cool little thing to do. Let me just make this look right. And then we might as well demo the new shadow editing tools that are in 13. So you'll see there's a new section under advanced graphics where you can style your shadows and your padding. So yay, now you're master of your own destiny. And we'll just make that shadow more appropriate. Everything's looking pretty good. Save those changes to the style. So other thing you may have noticed is everything I've changed so far is just one-off. It only appears once on the layout, but there's still a custom style attached to a lot of them. Why am I doing that? Again, my goal is to make something that I can easily change the theme under, and everything just kind of picks up those styles. So if you're doing this kind of skinned or canned solution, then this is really a powerful technique, is to use custom styles as markers for the different elements on your layout. But now we are going to see something. We're going to see the magic here. I'm going to update this label to be more appropriate for the dialogue. And then we're going to see this, how it affects the other labels on the layout. Let's choose a nice border color to make sure it looks right. Get some text in there. And then when I hit this button, you're going to see the other labels, last name and visiting, get updated. There you go. No format painting. So on layouts that I have lots of these, super powerful, right? Now let's go and make the other fields match too. So this is a default. There are 3 fields on here. The top 2 are edit boxes, and the bottom one is a pop-up. Okay? Again, styles are segregated. So when I update this field to look appropriate for the label, the dialogue, let's contrast. Let's bring that back. When I save the changes, only one of the other fields picks that up. Why? Again, because they're the same type of field. And then we'll go ahead and style our pop-up to be appropriate. Now you could, like I think I mentioned earlier, you could start with a pop-up and copy and use the format painter to go back and then create a style from that. I'm doing it the hard way, I guess. I just like to make you guys watch me click a lot. Let's get some text in there. Okay, so, all right, let's assume that that's about as far as I need to go. The last thing that I will point out is, well, first of all, I could do the button. Buttons have states, so that would be a lot of wasted time for you guys watching me click around in the inspector. But states are part of custom styles, and those get saved with that as well. So do be aware of that you might want to modify states that are other than normal. The one thing that I do not like about what I have on this layout right now is that you'll notice that my layout background has text in it now, and this instructional text that I have on it is getting in the way. But again, I don't want to move anything around. So what did I do? Well, as part of my design, I stretched it to the full width of the body. So that allows me to use styles to move the content around. And what I can do is, I'll scroll down here, I'll change the alignment to top. It's not quite right either. But then I'll push it down using padding. I did not change any of the dimensions of the objects in this layout again. I used styles to drive those changes. And that's part of that kind of skinnable mentality when you're building solutions. The other thing, of course, let's not use blue. Blue is ugly. Okay, so I think that I'm done. But just to make sure that I'm done with this layout, I'm going to select all. And what you'll notice is that the inspector, yes, it does tell us we have multiple things selected, but it's also not saying that there's local formatting on my selection. There's no asterisks, and there's no red arrow indicator next to the style. And so that's a really quick and handy way to know that, okay, I don't have any local formatting on this layout. And now we're ready to see what happens to the other layouts. So let me open a window, and we'll look at the log. And I'll go ahead and just shrink this window down. And I'm going to save the changes to the theme. And we're going to watch magic happen. It will warn you to make sure that you know this is a shared resource. Do you really want to do this to your other layouts? And yes, we do. That's why we're here. Boom. Done. That's it. Because you'll be clapping for yourself when you do this, I promise. It's a major productivity booster. The one thing I do know that's hiding on here that's not really fitting in for me is the alternate row. Again, states are tricky because you don't see them all. So you want to make sure that you look through the states of your objects using the inspector before you call it done. We'll just go ahead and choose something more appropriate. Again, I'm colorblind, so I'm really not good at this. And we'll save those changes as well. Yep, I know. Save the layout. We got one more layout to look at, the badge layout. And it's done. Again, because I already saved the changes to those themes, all of the layouts picked up those changes. My logo got updated. You can see kind of the background maybe, kind of frosted under there. This is the only layout that I have any local styles on in this solution. And it only lives on the body. And I've just kind of give it a white, semi-transparent fade so that you can see some of that logo behind, but also clearly see the text. And you'll notice that that local formatting did not go away when I updated the theme via another layout. It just retained and kind of played nicely with the new styles that I defined. So that's it. I think that was less than 12 minutes, and I can hand this off to my client and make the big bucks. Yeah, save. And again, functionality, totally unaffected, right? Still works the same, still does the same things. And that's really the power of this type of approach. Now, while I was doing all of this, my business manager got another call from another client who wants to pay me even more money for their version of this solution. And he went to the designer and gave him that inventory. And I got a file from him. And I'm going to go ahead and import this new theme for my yet third client, I guess. And let's see, where is it? There's the file. Okay, so I'll go ahead and select that new theme. It's now been imported into the file, but none of the layouts have changed, right? I need to go through the layout process and make sure that I change those themes. So let's just change the theme. Done. Again, because I planned it out and did all of those, that inventory ahead of time, and I was able to hand it off to somebody else, and they gave me all the elements I needed, and the whole thing has been completely reskinned. So we'll go ahead and we'll save that layout, go to the next layout. Let's do the same thing. Again, looking pretty good, at least I think so, but my opinion doesn't matter. And then we'll go to this last badge layout. And I'm going to go ahead and change the theme here. And we're going to see something a little different happen. Ooh, what happened to that nice white background that I had overlaying? Now I can't read the text, it's ugly. Part of changing the theme is we remove all local formatting as a final step. But luckily, you can undo just that aspect of change theme. So I just did an undo right there. You'll notice the theme has still been changed, but it brought back that local formatting that I had. And this is why you're going to want to be judicious about your local formatting and understand what you've put where, and hopefully you can make that play nice with a variety of themes. So that's that. Now I have another client. More money. Good. And that's pretty much that demo. We'll go back to the slides. So some of you are looking like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Especially if you have existing solutions that you're migrating through the different versions of FileMaker and you want to make this work for you. Well, there's a couple things you want to think about from a mindset perspective. One is it's all about minimizing local formatting. So you want to go through and identify those objects, and we'll talk about exactly how to do that. And you want to think in this kind of style-centric mode. If you've ever done any kind of web development, even if it's been light web development, you've probably been exposed to CSS and this notion of classes and things like that. This is very much similar. And then finally, the other thing is you might want to, minimizing the number of themes is, that's a balance you want to make, right? We do recommend that you have themes specific to the different devices you're delivering to. So a touch theme, a desktop theme is rarely appropriate on a touch device, right? We have fingers, not mice. So you're going to want to make sure that you choose a theme and build a theme appropriate to the different devices that you're going to deploy to. But then again, I can't stress the planning part enough. And we're going to plan using a couple of tools that we have in FileMaker already. First of all, before we get to that, we did a nice little tiny feature, but it's very powerful for you, called normalized local formatting. Let's go back to that button that we had before. But what I've done here is I've format painted, and this is what the style stack now looks like. Because when you format and you copy paste, what you may not realize is that we have to condense that entire style, and we paste all of that locally. And all of a sudden the local formatting is fully descriptive, which we want to avoid. And there's a lot of duplication here, right? These values already exist in almost every case somewhere else. So when you save a layout now, we help you out. We analyze all these objects on save, look at local formatting and say, does this value exist anywhere below me? Get rid of it if it does. And that does not change the look and feel of the object at all. You probably will never even notice that it happens, except that now what we've done is we've really condensed that styling information and done some of this hard work of what has changed, what's different, I don't know. Well, we're taking care of that for you now. And we also do that when you save a style. And the reason why this is relevant is if you do nothing else that I've told you today, and go into 13 though, I suggest you just open your layouts, rifle through them, and save. And that alone will get rid of some of that duplication that you have inside of your theme. Especially again, if you plan on deploying to WebDirect, that's going to save you a lot of stuff. And we're doing that automatically for you on save. So that's step one.